Morning, all. All right. So normally when there's a trade made, I wear the jersey of the team that won. We don't know, so I went with a Hitman jersey because there was a hit job taken on today by the Vegas Golden Knights. Today they truly chose violence. Now, Vegas, it's a weird thing, right? Since day one of year one, it's been clear they want a Stanley Cup at all costs. So Marc-Andre Fleury, last summer there were rumors they were trying to move him, right? The owner stepped up and went, nope, we're not trying to get rid of Fleury. And so they didn't trade him. And from then until now, anytime I said, maybe they'll look at trading Fleury, there have been Vegas fans have said no. Ownership has said no to the idea of trading Marc-Andre Fleury. Can't trade him. They won't trade him. He's the face of the franchise through his first 4 years. And Robin Lehner, who has played well for Vegas, there's a lot of criticism Lehner gets when he's had an off night. And then there's the fallback to Marc-Andre Fleury. And of course, Fleury plays a lot of key games. Any playoff run, Fleury's going to be prominent. So the idea of trading Fleury, well, it's a PR nightmare, right? So what Vegas did today is a PR nightmare. They have traded Marc-Andre Fleury to Chicago. At least they've traded his rights to Chicago. Now, he's under contract for next year. With that $7 million cap hit, Chicago now, according to Cap Friendly, has $600,000 in cap space. Yep. So that happened. Going back the other way is Mikhail Hakkarainen. The interesting thing with Hakkarainen is originally the trade was said to be for nothing. So Hakkarainen going the other way is not nothing. He had no points in 6 games in the AHL this past year, and in 6 games in the ECHL, he had 1 assist. He's 23 years of age. Now, for Marc-Andre Fleury, this again continues a pattern, right? He finds out on Twitter. Apparently, this is the word that Marc-Andre Fleury found out on Twitter. If you are trading a player who is arguably the face of the franchise, you phone him. You say, you know what? And this is not something unique to Vegas, but you at least phone the player and say, hey, we're thinking about making this move. And it's nothing personal. Now, I've already seen people saying that this is to make room for Eichel. The Eichel trade's got to be coming. Here's the problem with that theory. With this move, I believe they have $11 million in cap space. Remember, Martinez is supposed to be sticking around on a deal worth about $5 million. So that would leave them with about $6 million in cap space, and Eichel carries a cap hit of $10 million. So there isn't the cap space there yet. They'd actually have to get rid of somebody else. And is Marchessault, Smith, who's up next? So it is an interesting way to trade the face of your franchise. Now, how Fleury's handled this is through his agent, Alan Walsh, the very popular with all the fans, Alan Walsh. The one that tweeted out the image of, the photoshopped image of Fleury with a sword in his back playing goal. He's saying Fleury's talking it over with his family. Marc-Andre Fleury apparently had made it clear last year that if he was traded, he'd probably retire. He loves it in Vegas, and Vegas loves Fleury. And I think that of all the relationships between fan bases and players in the National Hockey League, that might be the closest to, is he their idol? It might be the closest you get is Vegas with Fleury. So this is a move that absolutely could blow up in the faces of the Vegas Golden Knights. Now they need to replace Fleury. They need another goaltender. So even though Fleury may very well not end up playing for Chicago, as he may retire, and if he does, that $7 million cap hit disappears. It's gone. Yeah, I do wonder how this turns out. From a PR standpoint, Chicago can't lose here. They might reach out to Fleury. They might come to some kind of an agreement. Or maybe they don't, and maybe Fleury retires. And then Chicago will be like, well, hey, we tried. We tried to bring in, the defending Vezina Trophy winner. And it's funny because I talked in one of the live streams we had about maybe Fleury getting traded, and the response was, they're not going to trade Fleury. The reality is that his contract really made it hard to move him. And I know it's only one more year, but it's $7 million. And I think the one thing that general managers probably were thinking, that a lot of us are thinking, he plays really well in Vegas. Who knows how he plays somewhere else? Vegas is the perfect home for Fleury. It is the same as what Luc Robitaille playing in LA was. When he's in LA, Luc Robitaille was just a better player. All of a sudden, being slow and being old didn't matter when Robitaille went back to the Kings. Fleury has this presence in Vegas, this just everything with Fleury in Vegas works that I don't know if it would in Chicago, right? So for Chicago, if this works, if Fleury says, you know what, I'll go play in Chicago for a year, sure, then they have Fleury and Lankinen would be their top two, and that's a pretty good tandem. If not, again, then Chicago gave up a prospect they can afford to give up in order to maybe bring the guy in. So yeah, it's I know it's tough for Vegas. I know on our Discord right away, the reaction was pretty swift. The reaction all over Twitter has been ridiculous. Part of the reason why I waited to do this video a little bit longer than I normally would is just to soak in all these reactions and see where this might lead. And it definitely looks like we'll see Marc-Andre Fleury probably retire. So that's gonna be quite the kick to Vegas fans that they lose Fleury and he ends up retiring, and he was within striking distance of maybe reaching Patrick Waugh's wins total, and now that would fall by the wayside, and it leaves a bad taste in your mouth, right? And it's something that has been said about Vegas for the whole time. But again, this is a team that's obsessed with we have to win the cup. And the comparison I would make is when you're playing your NHL video games, you're like, all right, well, these guys aren't moving and this isn't working, and you just trade some guys. That guys go as free agents. You bring new guys in. It kind of feels like that's how Vegas decides on these things. You look at the team that went to the final in 2018, and you compare it with who's there now. It's almost a completely different team with a whole new identity. And then the question becomes, is this an identity that does win a Stanley Cup? So if in June of next year, Vegas is holding up the Stanley Cup, all of this is forgiven and forgotten, at least on some level. If Vegas this year has any kind of struggles, if in the playoffs they're out in the first round, this is the kind of thing that fans are going to look back on and say, see, that's where it started. So we'll see what happens. But for Vegas, it's a big day if you're a Vegas fan, right? All right, then there's the buyout news from today. So Holtby is being bought out by Vancouver. There's not a market for that cap hit, right? So with the buyouts of Holtby and Virtanen, that's some dead cap space there for Vancouver to negotiate above and beyond the dead cap space of Luongo. And then they signed Connor Garland, the restricted free agent they just acquired from Arizona, 5 years, and the cap hit's $4.95 million. Good cap hit, good contract. This is one of those strange things with Jim Benning. There's the bad contracts that you have to buy out and you have to trade, and then there's the good contracts. And it's almost as if there's two different Jim Bennings that are doing the negotiations here, right? So Garland, that's a decent cap hit, and I'm already seeing some reports of, hey, so tomorrow is the start of free agency. There might be an offer sheet for Patterson, because teams can talk to free agents today. They can't officially do much about it, but yeah, there may end up being an offer sheet to Patterson, which might be part of the reason why they bought out Holtby when they did, right at the closing of that window. Interesting as well, Martin Jones is being bought out by San Jose. Not really a shocker there. The one that's making me kind of raise an eyebrow is the news that apparently Toronto might be interested in Martin Jones. Now, if Toronto goes to Martin Jones and Jack Campbell as their tandem, I'm going to go ahead and bet that Leaf fans might not be entirely happy with that. I'm going out on a limb here. Jones is coming off of his, third straight season of subpar numbers. And so, yeah, if they get Jones as a replacement for Anderson, I don't know. And then maybe Freddie Anderson ends up in San Jose tomorrow, right? Right. Who knows? Maybe Freddie Anderson signs a $7 million a year deal in Vegas tomorrow, and the whole thing is lit on fire on Twitter. James Neal is also on waivers for buyout from the Edmonton Oilers. Not really a huge surprise there that James Neal's being bought out. That contract hasn't aged well, and Edmonton looking to free up some cap space as well. So, yeah, it's an interesting offseason that we've had. It feels like we've already had a whole full offseason worth of stuff happening. And tomorrow's the start of free agency. So, we'll see if Fleury retires today, and then if I don't know, Mike-Andre Fleury suddenly shows up tomorrow, be Mark wearing a mustache and say he's a brand new goaltender, happens to be in his late 30s and looking to sign a corking new deal with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So look for Mike-Andre Fleury to sign with the Penguins tomorrow. I'm honestly, all kidding aside, I'm kind of surprised the Penguins didn't make this trade, because you would think if he's considering retirement being traded, maybe he might have considered going to Pittsburgh. But they didn't phone him and ask him. So, yeah, Chicago wasn't on the 10-team no-trade list, and there he is. Also, news coming out as well is that with Virtanen being bought out, there are teams that are interested. Carolina's looking at it. So for Carolina, Virtanen has a lot of work to do, both on, as I've said, on and off the ice, and we'll see where he does end up signing and for how much. So yeah, we'll see what happens. All right, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. And I am sure that for Vegas fans, today is a day where they may have an opinion on things going on in the hockey world. Like, for instance, losing the face of the franchise and getting back a prospect that, I don't know, maybe Vegas sees something here. We'll see, right? But it's a cap dump. So let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe if you're browsing your way through. You just happened upon this video. And buckle up. It's going to be quite the offseason because, again, we're just getting to free agency tomorrow. That's normally July 1st, and it's tomorrow. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching, for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.